everybody, and welcome to Let's Look at Volgarr the Viking. Volgarr the fucking Viking, fucking Volgarr the Viking, Volgarr the Viking, fuck. That is basically a synopsis of the words that have come out of my mouth as I've been playing Volgarr the Viking. This is a game which is, let me adjust my microphone for a second just in case I end up shouting a little bit. Which is probably the hardest game that I've played this year. It is definitely the closest game I've ever played, I think in my entire life, to a 2D representation of how punishing Dark Souls can be for a first-time player. And even though it might seem like I'm being very negative right now, I actually have a lot of respect for this game. I think it does difficulty very well. It is just goddamn unforgiving. Let's get started here. I'm going to tell a little story about Volgarr the Viking, even before I talk about the mechanics. Volgarr the Viking is published by Adult Swim Games. It was at PAX. Here's a cool mechanic. You can use, you can throw spears and then use those spears to accomplish, platforming elements. But anyway, it was at PAX Prime. I didn't actually play it when I was at PAX Prime, but I saw a tweet from Crazy Viking Studios that said nobody at PAX Prime was able to accomplish the first level of Volgarr the Viking. No one at PAX was able to beat it. So, you know, you guys all need to kind of man up and work on your old school game experience. And I was like, yeah, you know what? People are bad at video games, but I'm not like them. So, you know, I got my copy, booted it up, and it took me about somewhere in the vicinity of 50 minutes to an hour just to beat the first level. And again, it is very Dark Souls-ish in that the first level, in terms of, like, absolute length, if you make no mistakes, is, you know, probably somewhere on the order of, like, 4 minutes. But there's so much trial and error involved. And, one second here. This is a part that still causes some issues. There's so much trial and error involved that, by the time you reach proficiency, it's been a lot longer than that. Let's just put it that way. So, let's talk about Volgarr the Viking's suite of abilities here, because it is important to note these, if you're going to accomplish anything in this game. You have a sword. I'm using the Xbox 360 controller, but you can use the keyboard totally fine as well. The control scheme's not that difficult. You have a sword. You can duck an attack. That's increasingly important as the game goes on. You can do a double jump in the air, which also does an attack, and you can throw a spear. Now, when you reach a certain power level, which is the, like, this Thor's hammer, this Mjolnir on my shield here, that allows us to throw a charged spear like this, which goes through enemies. I know that this guy's gonna come down here, so I'll just slay him. Now, how does death work? Did I talk about everything? There's a roll that you can use as well, but, you know, that's less important, I would say. Yes, good, we did kill the spider there. Every time you get hit, and this is kind of a weird mechanic of the game that I actually like a great deal. It's not the first game I've ever seen that has done this, but that was actually a perfectly good example for me to kill myself. God damn it. Every time you reach, like, a treasure chest without getting hit, you get a new ability up to a certain point. So, first, like, you start with just the shield. You start with just your sword, and then eventually you get your shield, and then your shield gets the Mjolnir hammer that allows you to throw the charged spears and also makes your shield more powerful, and then you will get a helmet, which will protect you from, I guess, headshots directly, which actually do matter as you get a little bit further into the game. It's kind of a cool way of dealing with things. It's also kind of incredibly frustrating when sometimes, like, you'll do a perfect level, and then just before you get to the end, you'll, like, totally fuck it up, and then you'll only have, like, your spear available and no other protection. It works kind of like, you could almost consider it like, you know, in Mario, let's say you have a Fire Flower or something, and then in some of the Mario franchise games, you get hit, and then you go down to Big Mario, and then you go down to Small Mario. That's the way I kind of see it working. Obviously, the less amenities you have, the less abilities you have, the less likely you are going to be to make it through the game. But this is very much a game that is about, A, practice, and B, kind of pattern recognition or memorization. Enemy spawns are always in exactly the same place. I can't believe it's taken me this long to mention it, but this game definitely has, like, an old school, both pride and aesthetic associated with it, without a doubt. This is a game where, you know, I've heard of the entire thing being speedrun, the developers told me at least, within, like, just over an hour, which is pretty goddamn impressive. All things considered. No, this is where we lose it. Yep. I can just go a little bit further here without dying. Yep, okay. I should point out here that as we get started, there's a very real chance I won't even get past this first section over the course of this video. And, you know, if you think that this looks easy and I am just throwing or something like that, then I encourage you to try this out on Steam. It comes out on September 13th. The store page is up. I have no idea how much it's going to cost, though. But it's kind of unfortunate that for a video like this, I don't think you're necessarily getting a representative look kind of like the value of Volgarr the Vikings, because this is not what gameplay looks like in Volgarr the Viking, for the most part. At least it's not what my gameplays look like, I'll tell you that much. Most of my game is me, like, clinging to the wall. Okay, let's try this again. Like, praying that there's not going to be any more enemies, but of course the game doesn't oblige me, and then enemies show up, and I die, barely, like, skirting through even early encounters by the skin of my teeth, and then eventually getting some proficiency in those and being able to make it a little bit further into the game. The Dark Souls criticism, not criticism, but the Dark Souls comparison is one that I hate a lot because it's used all the time just to describe, like, hard games now. Oh, that's so stupid. The thing with the double jump is you have to, like, commit to I'm so stupid. You have to commit to a direction, so you want to, like, move a little bit away from that second pillar so you don't accidentally jump on it. But people use, you know, it's like Mario plus Dark Souls to describe, like, a hard platformer, and that's basically bullshit. Dark Souls is hard, but what makes it hard is that, you know, there's a lot of, I wouldn't necessarily say intricacy to the combat, because obviously this is not the most intricate combat in the world. But it's very punishing in the sense that you, basically, if you make one mistake, you could find yourself in a very bad situation. And if you're not methodical in your play, you can find yourself in a very bad situation. And that is certainly my experience with Volgarr the Viking so far. It's the kind of game where it kind of reminds me of, like, being in like a really hard area for the first time in Dark Souls, like it'd be in Blighttown or something like that. Let's not take Blighttown because that's a bad example because I haven't been at the top of Blighttown in like 2 years, but it's like being in Sen's Fortress. You know, in Sen's Fortress, first things first, you're gonna struggle to get past those 2 lizard guards at the start, and you're gonna die over and over, and you're gonna be like, oh my god, this was so difficult, like, there must be like a checkpoint or a bonfire right after this, and then, nope, you then, oh, I wonder if I could stand on this. That actually seems like it might make this harder. Oh, you know what? I think I've discovered a new way to make this easier. And then we can just jump over onto that. Okay, that's much better, actually. Don't fuck with me, bees. I got bigger fish to fry now. Yeah, but then you get, you know, you get past those guys, and then you're on that thin bridge with the axes, and you're like, holy shit, I can't believe there's an axe bridge in this game. Well, little do you know, by the time you reach proficiency with that there's actually like 7 axe bridges in the game, and each one gets increasingly more difficult. That's what Volgarr the Viking has been like for me. You meet an enemy for the first time, and you're like, oh man, I'm never gonna be able to defeat this guy. And then eventually, I really thought I'd be able to do my spin attack in the air and save my life. This is really bad. Yep, I have been attacked and almost, no, snake almost killed me. Okay, that's what Volgarr the Viking has been like. That was the stupidest. I should have thrown a spear into the wall there. That's what this game has been like for me for the most part. Like, you meet, with the exception of this very first section, which I think has always been fairly easy. It's basically like a tutorial just to teach you about these enemies. Yeah, with the exception of this first area, I've spent a lot of time being like, there's no way I'm ever going to get past this area reliably. And then you die at it 15 times, and then you beat it once, and then you die at it like another 2 times trying to perfect your method. And eventually, you only die at it like 10% of the time. And by doing this, you know, it's almost got like a kind of Super Meat Boy vibe in that same way. By doing this, you eventually gain enough proficiency to barely beat the level like once every 25 times, which is where we are sitting right now. And that's super cool. I love that this is a game that is not just like, you know, it's not just you die in one hit and enemies like have bullet hell or something like that, or create bullet hell, I guess. Because bullet hell, I suppose, is a noun. But like, apart from... Let me just do this again. This requires a great deal of focus, in my opinion at least. That might not be the best place for this. Just do a tiny jump, Volgarr! Okay, that was scary. But yeah, in that sense, it's the most Dark Souls-ish 2D game I think I've ever played. And I know it's dragging influence from, you know, games like Ghosts and Goblins and stuff like that. I never played those games, so it would be dishonest to me to use that as a point for criticism. That was awesome and totally accidental. But yeah, it really does feel like a 2D Dark Souls, and it's punishing as hell. That's not to say, you know, I suppose gushed a little bit so far about the game. I do have complaints, and a lot of these complaints are going to make me seem like a big baby. But the game is, at some points, I think, a little bit over-committed to this old-school aesthetic. For example, you may be noticing, I guess I haven't lampshaded this yet, but I'm at the first level. I've beaten the first level before in my life. But, you know, whenever you restart the game, you're on the first level. Why is that? Oh, well, that's because there's no save points. By the way, the shield does work as, like, an actual defensive tool. I shouldn't say there's no save points. There are save points. I hate this part, by the way. I think I can stand, like, right here. Gotta figure out where the safe zone is. Yeah, okay, I can stand right here and just do that. There are save points, but it's not persistent. So, like, after you... Okay, I can still hit him from there. After you, like, quit and restart the game, your save points are gone, which is pretty goddamn frustrating. Although, quite clearly, I'm still, like, bad enough at these, like, early sections of the game. So I think I can just jump and attack him here. This is probably the easiest thing I've done so far this level. Accidentally use those spears to block the shots. Oh, that's what I should do on that one who I can't avoid. But yeah, I mean, I've heard that the game is not exceptionally long. To its credit, like, they were saying that a speedrunner did manage to beat the game in like an hour and 12 minutes. You will not beat this game in an hour of 12 minutes. We are going to beat the first level. Holy shit, I was so nervous about not being able to do this. So that's the first level done. Amazing. Even though I died many times, I truly believe that I made this look easier than it actually is. Don't believe the hype on that one. Okay, so this is the second level, which I've never beaten. So yeah, I mean, I haven't really committed to a coherent thought here. Just keep in mind that, you know, if you get this, you're not going to be making... Oh my god, this is the first time I've ever gotten the flaming sword. I don't know what the value of this is, but I like it. Usually, like, just getting the helmet for me is like a cool triumph in and of itself. By the way, I really like the level design, how you can, like, throw spears through those gaps and then use those as a platform to come up. This is a game that I feel like is totally built, maybe not for speedrunning, but where speedrunning is a an absolutely, like, viable way to handle the game. We are doing so much more damage. That usually takes 5 hits. This is almost double damage. You know how I know it usually takes 5 hits? Because you know how many hits every enemy takes to die in Volgarr the Viking. Because you gotta plan your actions like a fucking... You're playing Rainbow Six 3 and you're Dink Chavez or something. Okay, get through these guys. This is going really well so far. Oh, I'm such an idiot! Okay, this is the one moment of losing your focus caused a lot of problems. You can, as well, use your shield as kind of like a barrier to block these shots, but of course you've got to be facing the other direction. Maybe of course was kind of strong there. I lost my helmet in that too. That is unfortunate. More like unhelmeted. But anyway, yes, again, I haven't really, in my opinion at least, completed a coherent thought. Come on. On the subject of, like, difficulty and length. There goes all my treasure. We don't start back at the very beginning, though. We start back at this save crystal right here, as we spawn in corporeal form. Yeah, so, you know, do you say the game is short, or do you say it's long? Do you say it's too hard? I don't need to say anything like that. It's too hard for me to probably see myself beating it in one sitting, if that's going to take like 3 or 4 hours. I do think that, you know, it's shitty to say this from, like, the developer's perspective. But, you know, it's definitely a commitment to the old school aesthetic that there's no save. You know, I've played games as a kid that did that as well, where you basically had to beat it all at once. But I don't live the kind of lifestyle anymore where I can really justify that. And that's fine, like, but it is kind of like the game's way of saying, like, this isn't a game for you, old man. Like, if you don't have a bunch of hours simultaneously to invest in this, then basically fuck you. Of course, if I'm woefully inaccurate and there actually is a save system, let me know. But I believe that, you know, this is the second time I've loaded in and I have never had my save game actually follow me in. So I just wish that it saved, like, level to level. I don't think that would have been too much of a compromise. But the core gameplay is a lot of fun. I just wonder if that's going to alienate some people. That being said, when I play Volgarr the Viking, I'm frustrated, and I'm frustrated in all the right ways. I think they definitely, you know, they had a vision in mind, and they hit it, and this is one of the most successfully, satisfyingly difficult games I've played, maybe in the last few years. Come on, red man. Oh, okay, that was scary. There is a secret up there. I never get it. Okay, this is a difficult section. I can't believe I got hit by the bee of all things. Okay, just roll through here. This is not the furthest I've made it. There is a boss at the end of this level that I've made it to. There's like a little bit of AoE damage on those. But I've never beaten the boss. In fact, I don't think I've ever hit the boss. He's got his own little weird puzzle associated with him that I've more or less solved, but still difficult to put it into practice when you get to him and you have, like, you know, just your spear. So by throwing those spears, we actually do block the shots from these plants, which is going to make life a lot easier, but there's still some very difficult sections ahead of us here. If I just keep it up like this, that worked out pretty well. As far as I know, there's no, like, down jump, so I'm almost certainly gonna die here. Yeah, there we go. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do that without a shield, I should say. So yeah, it's a game that's definitely, you know, it has commitment to being punishing, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But except for the fact that it makes it very unlikely that I will probably finish this game at any point. And, you know, people might say, oh, that's because the game's too hard. It is and it isn't. This is a game where, you know, I've played a decent amount of it. I've triumphed over adversity. I imagine that the game gets a lot harder, and I can totally be okay with that, you know. I've beaten a lot of hard games. Don't take that quote out of context, in my entire life. And I would be happy to play more of this, but I just can't necessarily commit the time to doing it. To getting that proficiency without any kind of save points. Although, I will admit, like, I understand where they're coming from as well. So, let's just keep this up here. We'll probably stop the video at some point soon, but I do want to, you know, at least try to get to the boss. What I really need to work on is using my shield a little bit more effectively, even when I have the shield. And there are two different forms of shield, by the way. There's, like this one with the hammer on it, and then there's also, if you do, if you lose this, but then gain another shield from a treasure chest, it usually starts as just a, like, wooden one, which can only block one shot or something, and then it breaks, whereas, obviously, our metallic one can block multiple shots, and keep us alive still. But I should really learn how to use the shield more effectively, because when I don't, I basically kind of flail around when enemies get in my face, and this causes me, to become much more likely to get hit, as you have seen right there. There goes my shield. There goes everything, basically. I was only one spear away. I should have just kept throwing at it. I can never... Oh, we got to throw a spear up there. That's one of my favorite mechanics of the game is that spear throwing mechanic. If there's a treasure chest up there, that actually might make this possible. Like, the idea of thinking with spears to, like, solve a platforming puzzle is pretty cool. I've never actually, you know, been stuck on a platforming puzzle in the game, which is probably fair considering, you know, it's usually, like, throw spear to get higher. That being said, I think it's kind of a neat way to handle things. Like, your combat is also a puzzle-solving ability, or your method of combat is also a puzzle-solving ability. And hopefully you can see, like, in my play right now, how you kind of learn when you play Volgarr the Viking, which is, you know, eventually you commit a section to more or less muscle memory, and you just do it. Like, you know exactly the strategy that you need to take to destroy all these enemies and get through these early sections, and then you just do it, and then try to make the later sections happen until you get to that same level of proficiency with them. I should not have even run there. I should have just taken that on the chin, but I'm okay. So there's our helmets, which I will take, and we'll come up through here. And again, you know, it's the kind of game where I made a mistake coming through here recently. Let's try not to make it again, and usually that means I'll be probably more reliable in this section than I was previously. So, I don't like this part at all. I'm just gonna come out and say it. The enemies, I think they don't spawn in randomly. I mean, obviously, they're like set spawns. This guy apparently cannot jump, or he can't, attack downwards, I guess? Oh, but he jumped on me with his claws, you dick. Oh my god, and then I just got hit by a random lizard man. That is the worst. I did so well, and I'm not, you know, trying to toot my own horn, obviously I'm doing terribly. I did pretty well up until that point, and then just shattered my own possibility of success by being a big idiot. And deviating from the pattern which I had, like, set out for myself. So overall, you know, I do want to clarify that I am... Oh, there's the wooden shield, by the way. Did I accidentally skip over the hammer, or did they decide you bad, so you're gonna get mad? Oh, the hammer's right here. Got it, okay. So that's normal. I do want to clarify that I like this game. I am offering kind of a mixed opinion of it. Certainly not a negative opinion. It's too well designed for that, and it's too much fun to play, like, in each individual moment for me to possibly be negative. I think it's a very good game. It's just a game that is, let's just say, to put it as politely as possible, super intimidating, and is very difficult for me to imagine myself finishing, largely due to what I feel is kind of a design quirk, shall we say. Nothing wrong with committing to an aesthetic, but I do feel that it does take away from my enjoyment in this case. So let's pick this up. Again, just to clarify, as we're probably coming on the last run of the episode here, I have no idea how much the game costs. It is available on the Steam store page as of right now, but there is no pre-order capability as far as I know. I looked at the Steam store page just before just before starting the video, and it doesn't look like there is a price associated with it yet. Knowing Adult Swim, you know, seriously? This is published by Adult Swim. I think I mentioned that many times. But knowing them, it'll probably be in the you know, $5 to $10 range. But I don't want to necessarily put words in their mouth. But you know, they made Super House of Dead Ninjas. They make a lot of these kind of like retro-inspired games. I thought I had another like superlative or something to throw at the end there, but they make a lot of these retro-inspired games, and they usually keep them in a kind of value-focused price point, should I say? But again, I don't want to put words in their mouth. So this is Volgarr the Viking. I'm getting my ass kicked by it, and I've been enjoying getting my ass kicked by it, but I don't know how much longer I can enjoy getting my ass kicked by it, because, you know, if I gotta go, you know, take a crap or something, or turn my computer off, or, you know, render a video, that kind of precludes me from doing some of the things that I want to do. You could restart the entire world if you want to. But anyway, thanks for watching. There will be a link in the store page to the video description. That's the opposite. There will be a link in the video description of the store page if you're interested. I encourage you to check it out if you're into some old school fun and aren't afraid of a game that will seriously kick your ass. But as always, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you next time.